When the medical records don't line up, that can be a sign that something may be off. In my last video, I talked about how flow charts can tell the story about labor and delivery. But after that video, I got questions from moms and even some folks behind the scenes asking, well, Marcus, what happens when the flow sheets say one thing and the fetal heart monitoring strips, they say something that is going to be completely different? That's what we're going to talk about today because this is something that is very important. I want to focus on the kind of discrepancies that are not just simple mistakes. We're not going to talk about those. These are the type of errors that go straight to the question of whether your baby was really doing okay during labor or if something was missed. I've looked at medical records where the nurse's notes, they may say that the baby was tolerating labor well during a particular time frame. But when you look at the fetal heart strips during that same time frame, you are able to see late decelerations and minimal variability. These types of issues are going to be a problem. And if your baby has been diagnosed with HIE and now you have a concern of a subsequent CP or cerebral palsy diagnosis, those differences in the record, they really matter. They can help tell the story of what happened and whether things should have been done differently based on what was happening during labor. This is where these contradictions, where they become part of how plaintiff lawyers build a case. If the notes say everything was fine, but the strip shows signs of distress, that can raise questions as to whether the staff recognized the warning signs or, even worse, they ignored them. Medical experts, they're going to use these types of records to be able to piece together what was happening in the delivery room. They will compare what was written down to what is actually recorded. And that helps them be able to figure out whether the standard of care was followed and whether your baby's injury, whether it could have been prevented. And there is another part of this that I want to talk about today too, because it's really important. And this happens later in the legal process. In discovery, when we get a chance to speak with the doctors and the nurses, when we speak to them under oath, we often will have them to look at the fetal monitoring strips and explain what do they see. We want to hear how they are interpreting the pattern, not just what they wrote down after the fact. Sometimes what is said in deposition, it doesn't match what they charted at the time. And that can be really revealing. It can show how they were thinking in the moment or whether they truly understood what was really going on with the strip. And here is something that I want to make sure that you understand this too, because this is also something that you want to think about. When we review these cases, we're not just talking about confusing medical language or technical disagreements. That's not what I'm talking about here today. What I'm talking about are key facts that are written one way in one part of the record and another way in a different part of the record. That kind of inconsistency, it matters. It can change the entire picture of what was going on and what happened with your baby. So, with all of this said and with all of this what we talked about today, if you're looking through the records and something feels off, that gut feeling might be pointing you to something important. These records and the differences between them can be the very thing that might lead to answers in regards to whether your baby's HIE, brain injury, or subsequent CP diagnosis, whether that could have actually been prevented. Again, I'm Marcus Boston, and if you have any other questions about your baby's HIE, brain injury at birth, or a subsequent CP diagnosis, if you have those types of questions from a medical legal standpoint, don't hesitate to reach out and contact me. You can find out more information about me in my profile. My information is there. If you're watching this video on certain apps, you can also send me a DM and we could chat a little bit about what's going on with your baby story. Or you just wait and watch the picture that follows the end of this video. All right, that's going to be it for today's short educational video. Have a great day, everybody.